Welcome, dear distinguished guests. We are honored to have our international panelists here with us today. It's going to be the first and ever international panel of our boat show, and first one. So we are really excited to hear valuable information from our distinguished guests here. Thank you all for coming, and we will be delighted to share some interesting information by our panelists here. I will shortly introduce them, and then we will start our panel. Joe is representing ICOMIA, which we are proud to be a member of our association. ICOMIA stands for International Council of Marine Industry Associations. It's a non-profit global organization. Correct me if I'm wrong,
That's
Joe.
Right. Yeah.
So we're delighted to have him here, and he will be sharing his global knowledge and in-depth knowledge with us. And then we also have Fabio Planamente from EBI. EBI stands for European Boating Industry. And we are delighted to become also, as the YATED Turkish Association, a full member only recently. And also another information, interesting or important information, is that they have twice a year annual meeting on the European level. So hopefully in June this year, we will be hosting the annual meeting here in Istanbul. So welcome also, Fabio.
Thank you so much.
And also, I'm really proud to announce another panelist here, Mr. Tarık from Sirena Marine, who is representing Turkish high-quality craftsmanship on a global scale. And we are proud to have them here with us. So welcome all, and welcome all.
Thank you.
So I will start with Joe and ask him that after the pandemic, on the global scale, the marine industry is, I would say, kind of shifting. So I would like to, or we would like to hear your opinions about where this shift is going, what are the growth trends, and how is ICOMIA, as you can see from a global perspective, please share your ideas with us.
Thank you. And before I start, I just want to say thank you to YATED for inviting us to attend and for your support for everything that ICOMIA does. We are an organization that exists solely to support our members. We have members from all around the world, and we're very honored to be representing here today, and thank you for that opportunity. You asked me how is the state of our industry around the world. I think if we had 3 weeks, we could still be talking about it, and I only have a few minutes. We have to be honest with ourselves. The last few years has been interesting. And the phrase that was an old Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. It has definitely been interesting. I think we can say that there's been a number of macro factors in play. We all know that our industry did incredibly well during the pandemic. When there was no other option, when there was no competition, and the only time you could spend time safely with your family and friends was on the water, and some people did have disposable financial resources for the first time, our industry did incredibly well. And that's something we should celebrate because it gave us a whole new population of people interested in boating. But the correction to that was difficult. During the peak demand period, we became an industry focused on managing supply chain. How can we fulfill this order? Where can I get the parts? Where can I get the shipping? And we probably forgot how to sell the benefits of boating because we were struggling to cope with the demand. Once that wave passed, we then had a supply chain that was probably too big and too much stock to cope with the demand. So the last couple of years have definitely been a correction. I think we're now globally in a position where the underlying demand for boating is realistic. That's what the underlying level is. But there are still repercussions or effect of that change in our business model that we can still feel, in particular in some of the more established mature markets such as North America. I was in the Miami Boat Show 2 weeks ago, and one of the problems they are now facing is that many consumers bought a new boat during the height of the pandemic at an above average valuation, which you could argue was good for our industry in the short term. We've then built up a huge backlog of supply that distributors are trying to shift to consumers, but we have a slight value differential in that a boat that was new 4 years ago is struggling to demonstrate its value compared to a new boat. So we still have to churn through some of the stock. But that said, the mood across the US and Northern Europe at the moment is that whilst the macroeconomic factors are still complicated, there is signs of cautious optimism. Finland have just closed their big boat show in Helsinki, saying that they received good orders, good genuine interest, and they're feeling more optimistic. North America was the same, and I wish everybody at this show the same successes. Of course, there are still headwinds. The global trade and tariff situation doesn't help anybody. The main factor that makes it difficult, and I know that my colleagues will expand on this, is where there is uncertainty, it makes people reluctant to buy. Why would you commit to an expensive purchase now if in 3 weeks or 3 months, or in the current situation, 3 hours' time, the laws have changed and you might be able to save 10% or it might cost you 15% more? So that's definitely a headwind that we're trying to navigate. But on the positive side, economic confidence is returning, and globally the average cost of borrowing is diminishing. So we've seen over the last 5 years a saying within our industry that the bigger the boat is, the better the business has been. If you're a private individual buying a super yacht, you're not mortgaging your house or taking a loan to buy that boat. So the cost of borrowing doesn't really matter. But for the smaller privately owned family boat, we need to see the cost of borrowing and the cost of associated taxation reducing to really help our industry grow. So I think they're the global factors at play. And then if we look regionally, we see very different pictures around the world. The mature markets of the Mediterranean, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, North America are really geared by the cost of borrowing and consumer confidence. But it's really exciting when we look to the emerging markets around the world. We all know how much investment is being made in areas such as the Red Sea. The sovereign funds of Saudi Arabia are desperate to build an economy based on tourism. I think the demand will take time to catch up on the infrastructure that is there, and we are working hard with our members around the world to make sure that that infrastructure, not just physical, but taxation, regulatory, are all in line to make a sustainable long-term business. And then what's also really exciting is the new and emerging markets for boating, those areas of the world where there isn't the culture passed from generation to generation of boating. And I'm thinking of China, Southeast Asia, Southern Asia, where boating was seen as an industry, but the world is now realizing both the physical and societal benefits for our health, our leisure time, but also the economic impact of boating. And in these regions, we are seeing a growing middle class, we're seeing a growing population. What we need to do is help unlock the knowledge, the demand, and turn that into a successful business. So you've asked me a very complicated question that I've tried to summarize. I hope that's covered it.
Personally speaking, I think that was a really, really good summary, because one of the main reasons Joe is here with us today is that he could provide us a global outlook of our marine industry because of the associations that he is dealing with are feeding him with all the necessary information that they need to collect, gather, and then consolidate and then distribute to the whole world. So I really appreciate your feedback, Joe. So I'm sure we may have questions, but I would like to ask Fabio, you were talking about globalization, but I will make a contrary question and ask Fabio, as there is a concern that there is a kind of shift from globalization to regionalization, and then mainly concerned with EU trade and tariffs. So what I will ask Fabio is, how exposed is our industry from shifting from globalization to regionalization? And then do you really think that governments are really listening to each country marine industry associations regarding deciding on the trades and tariffs issues? So I'm sure it's a tricky question, but you're well exposed to it.
No. First of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for inviting me. So thanks to YATED and the perfect organization, let me say. It was very kind for you, and so I'm very happy to be here. And I will try to explain my point of view, and just for give you also another information, I'm also a boat builder, so I'm still partner of Cantiere del Pardo. This is an Italian brand that is producing power boats and sailing boats up to 24 meters. So what I will try to explain is the point of view of the shipyard. And so, as Orhun asked about the changement between globalization and making more regional products. So there are two main aspects. The first one, when we are talking about globalization, we are trying to sell as much as we can all over the world. But each country and each state has different exigencies. So I can give you some example, like US, mainly in Florida, they want big aircon or all the kind of comfort on board, because they switch on when they are coming the aircon, and even if they leave the boat for a week, they will use also the aircon. And we are not having the same problem in the Med. So this is just a small example how we use the boats. So in Florida, they use the boat every day, due to the nice weather that they have. In the Med, we use mostly 3 months the boats during the summer season. So again, we have different use and different approach of the boats. Most of the customers, they prefer having more space in the interior than in the exterior. It depends again on the latitude. And then there is countries like in Asia that most of the time, it's funny, but I can tell you that this is true, they are asking for a boat without engines, because they leave the boat inside the marina, and they use the boat like a KTV, so they are playing with a song and a video and so on. So you see, we have to produce something that can fit for every people around the world, but sometimes it's not easy. So we have to adjust a bit, and we have always to listen customer, because they are the buyer. So as we said always in the yard, we cannot build whatever we like, but we have to build something that people like, and they will buy on it. So then, talking about regional, this is another issue, talking about the production point of view. As we are facing about the problem with Trump daily, or every hour, let's say, he's inviting us to move production from Europe to United States. For the boating industry, this is simply not possible, because numbers are against us. That means that there are no volume enough to support and to justify the investment from Europe to moving all the tools, molds, and whatever in the United States. So we can never recover the investment if we move in the United States. But on top of that, I'm Italian, and we are exporting also the made in Italy. So you can imagine how we can explain to the customers that now it's a made in Italy, but product in US. Doesn't work anymore. So this is simply a dream of Mr. Trump. I respect him, but we have, also find a way to survive, because we are in a small business. So we are not an automotive business with thousand and thousand volume. So we are a small production. Consider that the biggest shipyard in the world that is producing mid-size between 10 and 24 meters, or even less than 10 meters, is producing in total 7,000 boats a year, between sailing and power boats. That is sometimes like the prototype of one model of the car. So we cannot simply, follow rules or strange things of people. Today, the problem, the main issue, is the tariffs. So all of us, we are today affected. Consider that today Europe and Turkey are the main producer of boats around the world, exporting most of the time in the US, mainly in Florida. So for most of the shipyards that are producing power boats in Europe, Azimuth, Ferretti, so the biggest producer, they are exporting approximately 40% of their production in US. Imagine that today the 40% is almost zero. So you can see the effect and the impact that we are having in this bad situation. And as also Joe said before, we need stability. So our customer can support also the 15% as a tariff. But if a day is 15%, another day is 10, and maybe another 10 a day is 30, obviously they stay away until they will find a solution, definitely. But this is something that we cannot survive for years and years with this situation. So they need to clarify as soon as possible. Unfortunately, again, numbers are not in our favor. So the government, talking about the government, they are trying to listen us, but then it's a small business, and compared to other business like pharmaceutical or automotive, we are talking about peanuts. So we are not really, interesting for them to put their efforts. But another important thing that we have also tried to explain to our EU Commission is that there is an overlapping between the production made in Europe and Turkey and made in US, because simply a customer that wants to buy a US boat, he can buy a US boat because it has totally different characteristics. An European boat and a Turkish boat is more the Mediterranean style, more stylish, more design. So it's a different type of boat. So there is no sense that we are playing and fighting with the tariffs. But we are today the only one that are affected, and we are paid for that, and also the customer that simply they will stay away from our industry.
And thank you, Fabio, for valuable information. I want to make a comment and then ask for Joe. Okay. So the reason why I commented on mainly about potential shift from European or Mediterranean best production to US is mainly because I rely on the ICOMIA statistics, is that on global scale, the marine industry is like 35% of the marine industry is in US, and then 65% of that 35 is in Florida. So I believe that's one of the reasons you're emphasizing on that specific area.
Yeah, that's true.
So thanks
Correct.
to ICOMIA for sharing us the statistical data book, so we learn about it.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to just add a point to Fabio about whilst there are regional differences in the style of boating, what we work as an association with all of our members to do is to recognize that the supply chain is global. Whether it's an engine manufacturer from Japan, an electronics designer from the UK, an interior designer or a stylist from Italy, we all buy components and parts from one another and ship them globally. So it's really important that we work together as a global industry to try and create as much harmonization of standards as possible, so that a boat builder and designer in Turkey knows that they can export their boat to the EU or to the US or to Australia and know that it's compliant. So whilst we have regional differences in the fashion and the demand, it's really important, and this is a key part of ICOMIA's work, and for all the young engineers at the back of the room, when you're planning your production in the future, making sure that you follow standardized, harmonized standards, and that we work as an industry to make it easy to maintain those standards.
Thank you. So if you have any questions, I will leave it at the end. So next panelist is, as I have mentioned in the beginning, is a global scale manufacturer, shipyard representative, Mr. Tarık. And he will not only be providing us some inside information regarding the manufacturer point of view, and also as his career is based on sales, so he will hopefully be providing us some customer-oriented brief with us. So I would like to ask him, do you think that the post-COVID period or correction is temporary or structural, or what are the main challenges that you as a company, as a manufacturer, are challenging? And another question would be do you think the current clientele are replacement clients or new buyers? So there are my questions.
I will be do everything. First of all, thank you for joining us firstly in our country in this exhibition and also in this panel. I would like to, with your permission, I would like to continue with the native language for Turkish and also for just audience. Thank you for understanding. Herkese teşekkürler. YATED Başkanlığı'nda düzenlemiş olduğunuz bu panel için, bize davet gösterdiğiniz için teşekkürlerimizi iletiyorum. Bir üretici perspektifi bakışıyla Orhun Bey'in de sorularına cevap bağlamında sizlere burada açıklamalarım olacak. Öncelikle kendimden bahsedeyim. Tarık Şanlı, satış sonrası operasyon müdürüyüm. Hayatımın büyük bir çoğunluğunu deniz, yani bu sektörde geçirdim. Ya bir kaptan olarak hem ticari gemiler hem yatlar. Daha sonra da burada bir kara kısmına geçtiğimde brokerage ve 18 yıldır da Sirena Marine ailesi bünyesinin içindeyim. Sirena Marine özellikle, ya hepiniz tabii ki çok fazla uzun anlatmayacağım. Sirena Marine'in bir 20. yılını bu sene kutladığımız için nasıl bir bu sektöre atılım sağladı ve neler gereksinimle öngördü. Özellikle uzun menzilli ve pratik tasarıma odaklı tekne üretiminde bir gereksinim olduğu için bizim şekillendiğimiz noktada kendi Sirena yatlarımızı oluşturduk. Bugün sizin de söylediğiniz gibi 3 konu başlığına değinmek istiyorum. Covid sonrası bir hayatımıza bir gerçekler çıktı. Üreticinin temel zorlukları nelerdi? Üçüncü başlıkta da gerçek talep bugün nereye evriliyor? Öncelikle Covid sonrası normalleşme diyebileceğimiz bir döngüdeyiz. Sirena Marine pandemi döneminde de özellikle uzun menzilli, konfor alanları olan Explorer tipi yatlar üretme kısmında da yakın bir çalışmalar yaptı. Bu proje doğrultusunda gitti. Bugün ise tempo daha dengeli ilerliyor. Müşteriler daha fazla araştırma yapıyor, daha çok teknik sorular soruyor ve karar süreçleri biraz daha uzadı artık. Yani bu normalleşme dediğimiz kısımda. Aslında dediğim gibi bu gözlemlediğimiz kısımda bir daralma değil, normalleşme diyebileceğimiz bir adım. Sektör sürdürülebilir bir büyümeye dönemine geçiyor. Açıkça hem üreticiler hem de müşteriler de daha sağlıklı bir yapıda oturacağına eminiz bu normalleşme kısmında. Elbette ki üretici olarak zorluklar yaşadığımız kesindir. Tersane açısından bakıldığında bir karmaşık dönem yaşadık Covid döneminde. Bunların başında en büyük tedarik zinciri. Hali hazırda kritik komponentlerin teslim süreleri oldukça uzun. Şu anda devam da eden. Bu durumda tabii ki tersaneler üretim planlamasını daha stratejik ve daha disiplinli olmaya yönlendiriyor. Yani böyle de yönlenmesi lazım. Esneklik artık rekabet avantajı oldu. Diğer başlıkta zorluklarda regülasyon ve uyum. Şimdi uluslararası pazarlarda faaliyet göstermek farklı bir regülasyona uyum anlamına geliyor. Sirena Marine de bu anlamda hem Avrupa hem de global piyasaya üretim yaptığından dolayı sertifikasyon ve uyumluluk bizim için dikkatle, koordinasyonun da yürütülmesi gereken bir nokta oldu. Sürdürülebilirlik artık bir tercih değil, bir gereklilik. Bu kesin. Bir önceki panelde de bu sürdürülebilirlik kısmı konuşuldu. Sektörün de parçalanmaması lazım ve doğru bir şekilde sağlıklı ilerlemesi gerekiyor. Diğer zorluklarımızda üreticilerin maliyet disiplini. Burada en önemli üreticilerin karşılaştığı enerji, lojistik ve kur dalgalanmaları şu anda üreticilerin yaşadığı en büyük sorun. Özellikle lojistik, pandemi dönemindeki artan kapasite ve sonrasındakiyle tabii ki enerji maliyetlerinden dediğimiz petrol fiyatlarının da yükselmesiyle %30 ve %40 bandında bir fiyat artışı gösterdi ki lojistik. Bu da tabii ki bizim gibi üreticilerin Amerika'ya, Uzak Doğu'ya sevkiyatlarında oldukça etkiliydi. Bu da aynı zamanda finansal disiplini gerektiriyor. Bir üretici olarak bizlerin bunu sağlaması gerekiyor. Yani biz Sirena Marine'de sürdürülebilir büyüme hızını, yani sürdürülebilirliği büyüme hızından daha önemsiriyoruz. Önemsemek zorundayız da. Gerçek talentlerde de sizin yine konu başlığında söylediğiniz üzere gözlemimiz şu, mevcut yat sahipleri yenileme, sürdürülebilirliği devam ediyor. Bu müşteri kitlesi var. Bunlar deneyimliler, daha uzun menzilli, daha otonom, efendime söyleyeyim, buna yönelik çözümlerle arayış içindeler. Sirena Marine'de ürün felsefesiyle de örtüşüyor aslına bakarsanız. Çünkü explorative yatlardan bahsetmiştim. Bunlar bir tasarım tercihi değil, artık bir zihniyet göstergesi gibi devam ediyor. Diğer bir müşteri kitlesi ilk kez yat alanlar hala varlar piyasada. Bunlar ancak biraz daha temkinliler. Teknolojik bir beklentileri var. Deneyim sahipliğinin önünde tutuyorlar ve daha esnek, yani yaklaşım olarak daha esnek bir yapıda hareket ediyorlar. Aslında pazar küçülmüyor, olgunlaşıyor diyebiliriz. Perspektif olarak tabii ki müşterilerin ve bizim de biraz daha vizyoner bakış açısıyla ifade etmekse sektörümüzün büyümesi sadece servet artışıyla bağlı değil, güvene bağlı oluyor esasında. Bir, üreticiye güven, iki, servis, iyi servis veren üreticiye güven sağlanması, bir de uzun vadeli destek anlamında buna duyulan bir güven var. Sürekliliği, şeffaflığı ve güçlü servisiyle desteklediğiniz müddetçe artık sürdürülebilir bir büyümeyi de sağlamış oluyorsunuz bu bağlamda. Segmentlerde de şöyle, bizim de tabii ki bu yöndeki atılımlarımızı, ona göre tasarımlarımızı da dengeli bir şekilde yürütüyoruz. Bu segmentte yönetilebilir bir işletme maliyetiyle, daha geniş ikinci el pazarıyla ve daha erişilebilir bir finansmanla tekne üretiminde ilerliyoruz. Bunlar kriterlerden bizim için. Aynı zamanda refit piyasası da devam ediyor. Refit piyasasında yani mevcut yatlarını halihazırda yenilemek isteyen oldukça bir kitle var. Bunda da ülkemizde de önemli bir başarılar sağlanıyor. Toparlamam gerekirse şöyle, yani kendi denizcilik deneyimim ve Sirena Marine'de 20 yıllık üretim kısmında bu aşamada kötümser değilim, iyimserim Covid sonrasında. Dediğimiz kısımlarda Bay Joe ve Fabian'ın da söylediği kısımlarda hem de dünyada bir şeylerin dengeleri oturması açısından bir olgunlaşma yaşayacağız. Yani iyimserliyim bu konuda. Aslında bakarsanız da denize olan tutku bu fuarlarda görüyorsunuzdur. Ve tutkudur ve insanın da doğasında varsa zaten bu sizi oraya götürüyor. Kaliteye odaklanmak önemli. Rekabetçi işbirliği seçmek değil de sürdürülebilirlik bir işbirliği her zaman yararlı olacaktır bu sektör için. Yani benim söyleyeceklerim de bu kadar. Teşekkürler dinlediğiniz için.
Çok teşekkür ediyorum Tarık Bey. İngilizceye dönmem lazım izninizle. Thank you very much, Mr. Tarık, again for your kind explanations. I just want to make a few comments for our international guests. Tarık has mentioned about the manufacturer side of criteria or points that were really important. But what took my attention was he has touched base on 4 different points, which we would like to, or I would like to stress again, saying that as a competitive edge from the Turkish manufacturer point of view were the flexibility and customization, which gives the manufacturer a competitive edge. But on the other side, it would be interesting or rare for the international guests to understand us in the sense that complaining the labor costs plus the currency fluctuations would probably affect only in Turkey and Turkish manufacturers. So I don't believe the the international manufacturers are affected that negatively from those 2 criteria. So I just want to make those comments for you guys. If you have any questions, we are welcome to receive them. Mikrofonumuz var mı?
Thank you, dear all. Now, after the pandemic, we have seen a shortage for many equipment and items in the supply chain of the boat building. And due to workmanship, due to the cost of higher workmanship during the pandemic period, there has been a huge increase in the prices of all equipment and consecutively the prices of the boats. But now, okay, there has been an inflation. And there is a big log of stock boats, and with higher costs, of course, it is not possible to lower the cost of those boats now. But do you believe that keeping those high prices for the equipment, I mean, when I say equipment, it's from the navigation to the engines, etc., etc., is still relevant, or it is just for trade purposes that the suppliers are not lowering their prices?
Well, that's a tricky question. So Joe, you and I would step back.
Yes,
We have two manufacturers on the
Yes,
stage,
please.
so one of them would be...
First with Joe on the global basis, and then with Fabio as a boat builder, and then Mr. Tarık. What's your opinion on this? I mean, how do you justify that, for example, the engine prices in the last 5 years have rose minimum 20%?
Thank you, Alparslan. Thankfully, it's not my job to justify those prices. Inevitably, we have to have a sustainable industry, and that means making a margin. And we have to work hard to demonstrate the value and the quality of everything we do. Equally, inevitably, if you're left holding an asset that is overpriced, there will be pain at some point, because you either have to liquidate it and take a loss, or sit there holding it with an unrecognized loss. So I think there will be some element of correction. But around the world, labor costs, raw material costs are going up. There's some data from the US that showed over the last 15 years, the price of a typical family boat has doubled, whereas the household income has only gone up by 30%. So that's a strategic risk to our industry. And it demonstrates that what we need to do, and what I think we don't spend enough time doing, is looking at engaging and attracting the next generation of customers, whose parents might not be boaters. We rely too much on people trading up through their boating life or becoming boaters because their parents did. How do we as an industry engage the next generation of boaters so that we have sufficient demand?
So from my point of view, the question is who starts first? That means, we are buying from supplier, and there are supplier of our supplier. So just for give you some idea, after the pandemic, we were affected on two main aspects. The JRP, so that means fiberglass, growth around 40%, and the engines, as you said, around 20-25%. When we are building a boat, the two main articles are engines and JRP. So imagine where we were affected about 40% and 20-25, how we can come back. We can never come back, that's for sure. So there are probably no real solution unless we start from zero and then a supplier of the supplier, but I think it's not feasible. And so government, they need to understand that we need support also about, as also Joe said, the new generation. So I have some, let's say, dream about the new generation. So we have to support the new generation in order to convince them to buy a boat. And how we can support? Probably supporting and reducing the cost of the marinas. So government can give some support to the marinas in order to pass to young generation. So supposing below 35 years is if you are buying a boat for the first 2 years, you have 50% of the rate, let's say. And then on the other side, also for people that they want to buy a boat, having some support from the government, like a sort of leasing without zero interest, or small boats with no VAT or something like that. This is something real that government, if they want to promote this passionate business, and it's a sport that you can do from 5 years up to 95 or 100 years old. So it's important that now we can be focused on how to convince the new generation. Another important thing is also talking about the sustainability, is how to approach for the new generation, from the new engineers that are coming in the market, how to approach the production of the new boats. That means starting from the scratch, they have to think about how to demounting the boat when the boat arrives at the end of the life. So today, nobody is taking care about at the end of the life, but if we want to start seriously to think about that, we have to start from the university and from the new engineers that they will study some new system in order to demount the boat. So as a boat yard, we have to do something, but also starting from university. Again, they need to change a bit the approach. So more practical about sustainability, but I mean real sustainability. So we have to talk about something that we can really do in the near future, and not something that we can dream and there is no technology available at the moment. So, it's important to be focused on what we have today.
So we need to be cautious.
Correct.
An easy way. We have another question from Ms. Bahar.
Yes, hello. I'm IBI News correspondent, and it's very nice to see you here. I have two questions. One is for all of you, and it is very simple. Do you think still the boat shows indicator of this marine sector? I mean, can we understand how the market is from the boat shows? This is my first question. And the second is for you, Joe. Generally, we observe that the leaders of these marine associations have a sales background. So how does it affect the regulations? More sales-oriented and less environmentally and culturally? What do you think? This is my question. Thank you very much.
Just before I give the speech to Joe, I think not just as YATED, but all over the associations around the world are lucky to have Joe with us because his background is in sales. So.
Thank you. So the first question was about the role boat shows make. Very important, hugely important, because they are a great showcase for the quality and the breadth of our industry around the world. It's where a consumer can come to a show and make a decision about which upgraded engine to make, to see what new technology is out there to make their boating experience easier or safer or more enjoyable. And it's a great opportunity for the manufacturers and the builders to showcase their innovations and their qualities. And I think that's probably most important for the core established market of boaters. I think we need to find other ways of engaging the non-core boating market, who perhaps don't wake up in the morning and think, let's go to the boat show today. They're thinking, what should we do this weekend? How do we get those people to taste boating, to see boating, to hear about it, to learn about it, so that next year they come to the boat show and say, do you remember that 2 days we spent afloat in Bodrum or in Italia or in the south of France? I really want to do more boating. I'm going to go to the boat show. So it's a very important part of the mix, but it's not everything. I think the second part of your question, and I struggled to hear you, was about regulations versus sales or sustainability versus sales. Was that?
My question is generally the leaders, the heads of marine trade associations like YATED and the Italian version, all of them, generally these leaders are from sales background, yacht sales, yacht brokerage or that kind. So, and these associations affect regulations. So how does it affect these sales-oriented leaders affecting the regulations? And these regulations can be more sales-oriented and less environment and culture-oriented.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly, because I don't think there is a huge tension between making sustainable boats and sustainable experiences and selling boating experiences. Consumers increasingly demand a safe and sustainable experience on the water. That means they go to buy the boats that they know have the best possible sustainability. It's a very important consideration, but it's not the be-all and end-all. What's really great about our industry is that the leaders of the associations, and that doesn't mean myself, it means the representatives we have from all of our associations who speak on behalf of their customers, understand that if we work together by first of all demonstrating that we are a responsible, sustainable industry, and we want to make boating accessible and affordable to everybody, then there isn't that tension. So a third of the work that ICOMIA does is about developing the regulatory framework that is just right for the industry, that encourages responsible operations, but doesn't put unnecessary regulations on our industry. And those regulations could be about emissions, how you design and build an engine. It could be about boat usage. It could also be about access to the water. Where can we access the water? How do we protect the pristine environments that we love to go and play in? But ultimately, I think we're all aligned because we all want to protect the places that we go boating. Instinctively, we just love them and we want to pass them on to the next generation of boaters. And that sustainability has two meanings. Sustainability for the environments that we love, but a sustainable industry that will be here in 15 years' time. So I think we have the balance right between we need to grow our business sustainably and we need to have a regulatory framework that allows us to do that. And my final word, if I may, is just, and that's why it's so important that we act as a global industry, that we demonstrate that we are taking responsibility, that we're sharing best practice, we're learning from one another, and we're developing the right regulatory framework to allow us to grow. It's a very good question. Thank you.
Do you guys have anything to add on Joe's comments, or?
Talking about the boat shows, as Joe said, are always very important for the boatyard to show the boats everywhere. Obviously, we have to take also attention about the cost. So indoor boat shows are really very expensive for the boat builders and for the dealers that are always supporting also the manufacturer. So how to find the good compromise is maybe not reducing the boat shows, but starting the approach in a different way, maybe having more technology, showing smaller boats in presence, but not bigger boats because it costs really a fortune to transport. So the logistic costs are crazy. So maybe we have to switch our brain and think about supporting the new technology also on a boat show. So show some, 3D or virtual tour inside the boat and showing the boat up to 15 meters, for example. This is just an example. But we need boat shows. Definitely it's important because customers, they want to have a feeling also of the boats. They want to touch. It's not enough maybe just seeing a video. So it's a part of the marketing activities that the boatyard, they need to do.
Any other questions from the audience? I will ask Mr. Murat, the president of our association, to make the final comments.
Thank you, Orhun. Thank you, guys. I just would like to make a small comment to Bahar's question. I am a sales-oriented person, a professional, but I'm being a sales-oriented professional, but I'm the chairman of YATED. But sustainability is the number one key factor for us. As you well know, as soon as we are elected in the last period, we started building a waste collecting boat in Turkey. We built it with our organization, and thanks to all our team, we collected 1.6 million liters of waste from the boats last year. And we are working on sustainability. We are really working heavily, carbon monoxide reducing, and then the solar panels. So our first mission is not to sell a boat with the big numbers, but just to protect the environment. So I just would like to make that comment. So to make the final closing to all audience, as YATED, we are a member of ICOMIA. For many years, we are representing our association with Mr. Alparslan there. He is the board member of the ICOMIA. And we are a member of EBI. EBI is the European Boating Industry Association based in Brussels. We just held the last the board meeting in Düsseldorf Boat Show. And I was there and I was presenting Turkey and Turkish Boating Industry Association. And we decided to have the second General Assembly, the upcoming General Assembly in June. We will hold it in Istanbul. So also we will show Turkish boat builders, the capacity of Turkish boat builders, and we will visit, thanks to Tarık's and his management team approval, we will visit Sirena Marine and IATA. So it's really important for us. So Joe and Fabio, we are really honored to have you here. It means a lot to us because first time in the history of Bosphorus Boat Show, we are organizing the English panels. I think we should do this consecutively. What do you think, Orhun? Next year
Well, I guess so.
and year after. So we should work closely and deeply. This really helps us to grow the market. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you
for
very much
inviting
for the listeners. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Teşekkür ederim.
Today, as a memory of this seminar, we would like to present you a small gift.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Teşekkür ederim.
it looks like at the Olympic Games, so we want something. No, thank you so much. No, really
Now, the
appreciate
real
it.
game will be tomorrow night.
Teşekkür ederim.
It's gold, eh? We are
Teşekkür ederim. Sağ ol.
no, thank you.
Let's take a picture here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Evet, herkese katılımı için teşekkür ediyoruz. Sağ olun.